We are doing this yet again. I don't know. People keep coming back. I don't know why. Do you?
We're assuming that at this point we're pre-recording these, so we're assuming that when this airs, there will be people there. But I've got a lot of faith in that.
Yeah, tens of people watching this. Yeah,
tens of people.
Yeah, to the tens of you that are still tuning in at this point. After, what are we? Episode 4 now.
Y'all
we appreciate
the real heroes.
Yeah.
What you want? What you want?
We sort of had like an initial episode and then like a Christmas episode and then a New Year's episode. So this is sort of like our first non-special holiday thing.
Thank fuck.
Yeah,
we're done with all of that.
I'm so done with the holidays in general. Like
any holiday. Yeah.
Like I've been so ready for them to be done. Like this is the most depressing time of year.
And a lot of people feel that. It's more extreme for me because I'll tell you this about myself. I'm a very... and it's not always a good thing. I'm a very get down in a deep dark rut and stay there kind of person that feels comfortable to me. So when somebody comes along with some made up bullshit that I'm supposed to be excited about, I'm like, but I just want to lay here in my ditch.
Right.
And so, and I've tried to be in recent years, especially like I'm not naturally spontaneous at all. I'm not the motherfucker.
Really? That seems like something you would be.
I'm not going to be the guy that's like, hey, let's all load up and go over here.
Yeah. You're just kind of more content to kind of stay.
But I have opened myself up to when someone else is like spontaneously, hey, let's do this. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
we'll do that. And I'm usually glad I did. But if it's just left to me, I want every day to look exactly the same because it's good for...
So you're all about the routine.
It's good for my anxiousness that way. If I know it's coming and then there it is, okay, repeat.
Right.
So
you're good with like having a routine and just not deviating from that very much.
Yeah.
Good. So... with the shittiness of the holidays, here's why I think they're shitty. Well, we already did a whole episode on that. So just to top off how shitty the holiday was, because I did have a kind of a terrible one. I survived it, but I want to talk a little bit about. Have you ever been towed? Has your car ever been towed? Have you ever had that happen to you?
I don't think I ever have. I don't think I've ever been towed. I don't remember ever being towed.
I am hyper conscientious about violating parking laws. Hyper conscientious.
I mean, like looking at you right now, you seem to me to be the kind of motherfucker who would be hyper conscientious.
I'm always making sure like that I'm not in some place I'm not supposed to be, and so I'm visiting a friend who I have visited for 2.5 years that has lived in this place and always been told to park in this specific spot to avoid being ticketed or towed. And so I've always parked there, did it the other night, and got my car fucking towed. And do you want to know, literally an hour and a half it sat there, and you know how much they wanted to get it out?
How much?
$185.
Shit, man.
That's
can buy
a goddamn
car for that
highway robbery. That's stupid. So yeah. So
now how much did you end up paying?
I think it ended up being $170 because they gave me a break. Because I called in, I raised mortal hell with this guy. I mean, I asked, I was like, who's the authority on this? Like, is this the school? Is it the police department? Like, who does this? He's like, oh no, whenever we see a car there, we're contracted and we just get it and we get the money. I mean, it was the jankiest bullshit. They didn't have an office. They weren't open 24 hours. Like, they were like, oh well, if you can't get here by, I think it was like 2 a.m. We won't, people will be leaving. You'll have to come tomorrow. I'm like, oh, so that's an additional. Right. It's just some bullshit.
I mean, yeah, the whole concept of being able to tow away someone else's property and hold it for ransom sounds like
totalitarian.
The government.
Yeah. And like the fact they didn't have an office, they didn't take checks. I didn't get a receipt. Like, the whole thing was just shady as fuck. So I feel like tow companies in general need to be very carefully evaluated. I'm calling them out.
Until right now, this isn't something I ever felt very passionate about.
And I'm feeling me neither. Me neither. Right now, and I'm just like, God damn, that's $170. It's the end of December. I don't have money in that realm of it's like we just finished Christmas, which we already talked about.
Around this time of year, and yeah, I was thinking that the other day. I was just driving around, and I think it was like Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I saw, and I forget where I was going, what I was doing. We did a little bit of driving around. I saw like 4 people pulled over.
Yeah.
On Christmas Day.
I think
and I'm just
like, that time of year.
Like, you're giving out tickets on Christmas fucking. I don't even give a fuck about Christmas, but damn.
Right. You know? Right. It just seems like a bad time of year to hit people when they're already down. It's just like, wow, really? Like, I don't know. I felt very vulnerable, and I was upset, and just like, and I don't get upset easily about, you know, things that I know I can't help. And it's just like, it's not like I intended to break the law. And then I took a picture of the sign at this place. What do you think of when you think of a towing sign? You think of like, no parking, will be towed at owners. Like, it's a big yellow fucking sign. No, this sign was like, it was a fucking novel, and it did not look like a parking violation sign. You had to read all the way down to the bottom to get to it, and I'm just like, this seems like breaking the law.
So you're saying that you didn't read the sign?
I guess not. I mean, and here's the thing. I feel
like I'm getting ready to not take your side here.
And apparently they told me.
You're a novelist.
Yeah.
And you saw a novel hanging there and decided not to fucking read it.
I guess.
Then you're like, I don't like the way this story ended.
Yeah, because I mean, like, they claimed that sign had been there for 3 fucking years. And I'm like, I know, because I've been parking here for 2, and like, it was all the way on the far side of the field. It's not even.
So it wasn't even
where you come in on the it's just ridiculous. And like, even the people that live there were like, well, I've never seen that sign. Like, I didn't even know that you couldn't park there. And here's the thing, we've always parked there before, like when we've had parties or events and stuff like that, and nobody has ever been towed. And I think it's because there's a fuck ton of cars there. And so like,
they just keep on
going because they're not going to tow 20 cars. But because my fucking 1 car was sitting there like a knot on a log on December whatever, like right after Christmas, nobody's in town. So they're like, oh, we'll just fuck this guy's day. That's exactly what happened.
I'm just conspiracy.
I'm super pissed.
Feels like somehow this feels like a redneck episode of Seinfeld. Right now.
It's a little like that.
Like,
yeah.
What is the deal?
So that's
with tow trucks.
Yeah. So what is your have you ever had all that to sort of go into this? Have you ever had a brush with things that seemed not fair afterwards, in terms of like getting in trouble for something that was out of your control, or that maybe somebody manipulated to look a certain way? Like, what is your experience with that?
I don't know how far I want to. Like, I've been in my fair share of trouble with the law. The actual trouble I ever got in, I deserved every bit of what I got. I did. You do bad things, and there are consequences and repercussions.
Right.
Now, following that, after I kind of did the crime, do the time sort of thing, there was a long period. I think for the most part, I'm past that, because I'm 41 years old. This happened when I was 18, 19 years old.
Right.
You have a record, things of that nature. Like, anytime I was actually arrested, everything went really professionally, you know. After that, I had several times where, and I don't know if it was just you know, they run my license, they know who owns that car, they see I have a record. Like, I had a lot of times where I was really roughed the fuck up by the police. And it was times that I like didn't end up getting arrested or hadn't done anything wrong. It was like a delayed punishment for being a douchebag in the past, where, you know, when they
so you feel like they're profiling you based on
the fact that you have I don't even want to call it profiling, because yes, I've got a fucking felony record and they see that, but it's just like, also I'm free for a reason. A felony record doesn't equal warrants.
Right.
You know,
it's not like
I had legit situations where it wasn't the times I was being arrested. The times I was being arrested, I was just like, okay, here we go, let's do this. Well, it wasn't a happy event, but I was cordial. Hey, you're doing your job. It's cops and robbers. You got your role, I got mine.
Right.
But so those times went fine. I also had times where, like, over a taillight being out, I had a shotgun in the back of my head and my face on the concrete, and then I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? You know?
Yeah, that's a little extreme. Like,
like, especially when, you know, you're not here to serve a warrant or arrest me or something. How do we escalate to this? And
that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Like,
and this was like before I had muscles or a beard and was even scary. Like, really, if you have to point a gun at me to feel safe.
I sometimes think, like, if we're dealing with here's the thing. I'm not one of these people that's like, fuck the police, I hate the police, whatever. I'm not that person.
Right.
But I do think that there is a problem with, sometimes I feel like the training is not where it needs to be, because I have police officer friends, and even they will tell you, you know, obviously they don't want their names mentioned, but they'll tell you, like, I feel like I'm trained properly, whereas this new crop of people coming in didn't get the same training I got, and so they're not up to par. And that scares me, that we have police officers out there that have training that's not up to par, and it's like, when they get in these situations, and that the ones that make these national headlines that we're going to be talking about for, you know, however long to come, like that's scary, because it's like, I don't ever want to come across as somebody who, you know, hates law enforcement, because I know we need them, but like, we need to make sure that the training is consistent and better. And
this is I'm going to choose all of my words very wisely now that we're going down this path, because like you, I'm not like a all the way, all the time, fuck the police kind of person. And I also have to, in my emotions about things of this nature, have to factor into the equation that, especially earlier in life, a lot of my dealings with the police, you know, I got what I deserved. Right. I was literally definitely on the wrong side of the law. Still, having said that, I'm in the position of I've had more than my fair share of experience with not just law enforcement, guards, jailhouse, prison type guards, things of that nature. I have friends who were or are police. I know the mentality from different points of view. Right. And it's I won't even speak. I don't know anything about how they're trained. You know? It seems like when you see certain things happen and people getting capped for no fucking reason. Right. There's always that wonder of, could this have been handled better? It seems like training has to be an issue there. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, some situations, how do you really train for? Right. My problem with it is, and I want to make sure to say this right, so I'm not putting myself on the fuck police side, right, absolutely, or anything like that. My problem with it is when things like this happen, you know, we're supposed to during a regular day before something bad happens, we're supposed to hold law enforcement on this pedestal. They're these heroes. Right. They're risking their lives. They're this. They're that. And then when something goes wrong, then it's, well, they were afraid for their life. Yeah. I don't feel like you should get to play like me. That would make sense. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid for my life and I did something stupid. Right. I'm not the one who it is supposed to be the hero here. Right. And I don't feel like that is unfair, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's military. Mm-hmm. If they're going to get held to this higher standard, it's fair to expect them to be at that higher standard. Right. I get Absolutely. That. Like, I get that they get. I've been in some scary fucking situations in my life too. Mm-hmm. Most of that was because I put myself there. Yeah. I feel like, you know, if you're going to be the hero, be the hero. Am I being too harsh in that? No, because I would draw this analogy to, because I'm familiar with like education, for example. I just don't like the concept of in one breath that these are these not superhumans, but these are these heroes, these that, and then all of a sudden when the shit hits the fan, it's, well, they're only human. Yeah. Which are they? I feel like in any other job, let's say teaching, because I have experience there, when you get hired to do that job, there's an expectation that you're going to do it and do it well. And when you don't do it well, there are consequences for that. There's losing tenure, there's losing your job, there's being disciplined or whatever. I feel like, and not just police, but I feel like there are certain jobs that when they're not done well, we want to give them a pass and say, well, it's because, you know, this, or we make all these excuses. Sometimes there is no excuse. Sometimes the reason is just the training is not there, or you made a bad decision, and you don't deserve to be held to any different kind of standard than any other job. I feel like it is a reasonable expectation to not kill fucking people who don't need to be killed. Absolutely. I feel like that's reasonable. Yeah. And then, I mean, Wow, you really took us. I
took you there. I took you there today. Yeah, this is like a deep one. Yeah,
I felt really safe with your little tow truck drama, and I was like, "Well, we're gonna get out of this one alive." and now we got this whole Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, whole fucking vibe here.
But again, though, I feel like we're doing that thing where it's like it sounds like we're going, but we're really trying to bring it back around to let's have a mutual understanding about where we stand on it. You know what I mean? And it's like it's not a black and white issue in terms of when it comes to the training and the way that the job performance is done. I just think it's not wrong to advocate for excellence in training for these jobs.
I love the way you said that, and that's exactly what I was trying to express. I feel like this is the kind of job, like, don't fucking take the job.
If you can't do it.
If you're not like, and you know, I'm a manager in a fucking factory,
right?
You know, I don't have that level of stress. That I mean, I get all the reasons where people are like, well, the fear for your life, the stress, or this is what you signed up for. Right. Somewhere in there is kind of this
right. There's an expectation,
this hero vision thing that is the reason you wanted to do this.
I feel like there are some jobs that you do just because you need the job and you need the money, and like there's a point in those kinds of jobs where you can say, this is not what the fuck I signed up for, I'm out. But there are other jobs like being a police officer or a teacher or a fucking astronaut or firefighter. Those jobs, if you go into those jobs, you know what you're signing up for. Those are jobs you don't do. You don't just say, oh, I'm gonna go fight fires today. Those are jobs that you do because you have a calling to do those and because you have the skill set to do those, and you should have the desire to have the excellence to do them well. And if you're not doing them well, then you need to be held to those standards and those consequences.
No, I agree. And I think something I just thought of in what you were saying there. When you and I, like something like law enforcement from the outside, when you and I think of it, you know, we're not seeing it for what it really is on a day-to-day basis because we haven't lived it. You know, you go into this as, you know, wanting to serve and protect and this and that. Most of your days are. It's not like every day you're remaining aware of what you know. First of all, I don't know what it is. I know you spend a lot of time driving around in a car, and I don't. And it's kind of like, and this is a weird analogy to use there, but I've tried to explain to people about doing time is you can't make a movie about it because the worst part of it isn't the shower, it's the fucking boredom. Yeah, and you can't squeeze boredom into 2 hours. Right. You know. I feel like maybe there's a carryover there into law enforcement. Most of the job isn't the part that they make the movies about. It's the real life stuff. It's the paperwork stuff. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you might go for long stretches where it's just doing this job.
And I'm sure that all factors in.
Then all of a sudden, it's a fucking life and death situation. Yeah. So
it can be, I guess it can be hard to swing back and forth between like, I just had 4 hours of nothing and then suddenly I've got like a riot situation. What the fuck, you know, this is not something I knew was going to happen today. Like I'm trained for it, but yeah, and I can understand that would be mentally taxing.
And this is something that I feel like on a lot of the issues we've dealt with, I try to, like I said before, I'm not a middle of the road person. I try to be. I'm not successful at it. When I see fucking people, unarmed people shot, that makes me fucking pissed. Same. Yeah. And in those situations, what I have to try to do is not be like the fuck the police, like you said, this cop shot this person. Right. I can't let that be, in my mind, indicative of everyone with a badge.
I think it is a case by case thing.
As a society, we're all leaning more that direction. Yeah. On this subject and every other subject, and I'm trying to learn how to be my own voice of reason on that. You know, when something does happen and it's this situation, and there's I don't want anybody to mistake what I'm saying here. There are some systematic fucking things wrong. Particularly when it comes to law enforcement, people of color in certain neighborhoods. Absolutely. You know, there are some systematic fucking things wrong. and this isn't something I'm going to be an expert on how to deal with it. You can look at those things and address those things without being just like, fuck this whole group of people.
Right.
And I really, that knee jerk gut reaction, that is almost always my reaction is fuck this whole group of people.
Right.
I'm trying not to be that way.
And I think there are circumstances where, we can look at a situation and say, all right, there's some room for question here. Obviously this is going to have to be, investigated. But then there are other times when, like, that kid, I don't remember where, it was at Ohio, maybe Pennsylvania. The kid was playing with a toy gun, and they got out, and within 11 seconds of the police car arriving on the scene, the kid was shot dead in the ground for playing with the toy gun. And I'm just like, that to me, and again, I'm not there and I don't know, but to me, that just seems like that could have been avoided. This was a 10, 11-year-old kid, and I don't know. And then you talk about, I always think about the guys. Do you remember the guys out west that were defending like federal land, saying it was their land, and then they were running around with guns?
Clive and Bundy.
Yeah, the Bundy people. Like, how many times were those people walking down the street with guns and whatever? But they never, until that last thing.
That's different.
That is,
and that's why you don't hear the NRA coming out when. Philan Castile, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or whatever. When a person of color is open carry and fucking gets blown away, you don't hear the stomping about shall not be infringed, because the NRA never existed to defend people of color. Right. The Second Amendment sure as fuck was not written for people of color. Exactly. So when you get into stuff like that and something happens, toy gun, blah, 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 somebody gets blown away, well, what color are they? Then we'll decide if somebody gets to keep their job or if it matters. Right. And I feel like it not always, but a lot of the times it seems to come down to that. And that's a disturbing trend to me. Again, not getting on that bad bandwagon of all police are bad. I don't believe that, but I think there are bad police. Yeah, I think they exist, and I think they need to be dealt with. And that's the thing. There's in any group of people, no matter how you break it down, whatever demographic, I feel like you can look at it and be like, there are bad this. I feel like, and going back to the higher standard, I feel like a group of people that's so important, and it's so important the way they interact with society, I believe we should be really less tolerant of there being bad ones. I feel like as a society, we should not just say there's some fucking bad ones and go on. Right. Something needs to be done about that. It's like the Me Too thing, not to get into that whole topic because that's a whole other episode. Fuck, man. But it's You're trying everything you can do to get it's like all the movie producers and things like that. It's like we can't just to tag on to what you said, like we should not just say, well, there are a few Harvey Weinsteins out there, you just got to deal with it. No, we don't have to deal with it. Hang every if they're out there, like, get them out of this. Like, they don't deserve a job in this field. Like, they need to go crawl under a hole. And get the bad ones out. There's no shame in saying we have some bad apples, we're going to deal with them. And I think that, and whether it's that sort of situation or with the police or any group of people, especially when I think it's more cut and dry with law enforcement because they have a uniform, they have the badges, they have the brotherhood, that in any, and this isn't just talking about cops, it's talking about anybody, any group, there's this tendency to circle the wagons and kind of protect your own. Yeah, that's an area where a lot of this, they need to be policing themselves. And this is me as a citizen who doesn't want to fucking get shot saying this, Right. Obviously, and I know, hey, I'm a white dude. I'm in a lot of ways, I'm safer. In the area I live in, the demographics are such that maybe there's not enough minorities to fucking blow away, and having a record like I talked about earlier, that moves me up on the list of maybe in this area. Maybe somehow I'm a threat to your life. It is a legitimate concern of mine that I've lived with for a long time. Like I said, I've been pulled over for taillights and wound up with a shotgun in the back of my head. So when you have that kind of power and you have people walking around with that kind of power, they can kill you and get away with it. I feel like expecting a higher level of behavior is reasonable for all of us. Absolutely.
Well, that got dark really quick, but
I feel like
it's all
we need a
good.
joke in there. How many minutes are we at?
24. What do you want to tell?
Okay, I got just in talking about this. Let's lighten this up a little bit. This is a funny, terrible story about me. Many years ago, I used to do a lot of cocaine.
Good to know.
I experimented with college during my cocaine years. Actually,
I've never heard it put that way. Good one.
There was a day, and for whatever reason, somehow I wound up with a lot of cocaine and no friends, which that never happens.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting all by myself, snorting a bunch of coke, and I'm a talker. Like, I'm a talker anyway, but on that stuff, I really start talking, and I didn't have anybody to talk to, so I start, and I don't know what's burned this. For some reason, I was like, if I could just sit down, probably because I was doing coke and I'm a criminal and all that. So I was like, if I could sit down with an officer and ask them anything, what would I ask them? I'm scribbling. I had a whole notebook, filled up a whole notebook of questions, and some of them were like, I can't even remember all. I remember a few of them. Like, I was like, well, given the jokes and the stereotypes, would you be caught dead near a Dunkin' Donuts? And I feel like that's a legit question.
Yeah,
like,
no,
if I was a cop, no matter how bad I wanted a fucking donut,
Right.
I'm not going to get seen with a donut just because that's
stereotype. You're writing your own jokes about yourself.
And then exactly. And some of them were more serious, and it was from the point of view of, I know if I was walking around 24/7 with a gun at some point, and this speaks back to the excellence, to the expecting more. Mm-hmm. Me as a human, I'm not that human. At some point, somebody's going to fucking get shot if I'm walking around all day with a gun, because I'm a hothead, and that's who I am. Right. If I'm walking around, that's why, and I don't want to get into the whole fucking 2A argument, but I'm not going to open carry. Well, because I'm not allowed legally to have a firearm.
Let's put a little asterisk on that.
So, but because if I have a gun on my hip, at some point I'm going to fucking shoot somebody. Right. Now, as an officer, and this was one of the questions, was how do you balance that between your real life? I mean, we're talking about people who have real lives, who have families. Yeah. I always kind of picture this scenario of how do you, there right now there's probably a cop on duty who found out last night his fucking wife's cheating on him. Yeah. And now he's walking around with a gun and some real personal issues and a license to kill. Yeah. So, and that was one of the questions, how do you deal with that? In the middle of all this, of me writing all this, my phone rings. This is back in the day when the phones had the cords on them and stuff. I don't know if you remember. Oh, yeah. You're a bit of a youngster.
No, I got it. I got you.
I answered the phone, and it was Officer so-and-so from the Fraternal Order of Police. You know how, I don't know if they still do that, but they'll call and raise money for charities and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I'm fucking totally geeked out anyway. I'm like, dude, I'm so glad you called. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And he was like, okay. And he was super cool. I think there's no way he didn't know I was just fucking obliterated out of my mind. I got through like 4 or 5 questions, and he tried to answer them seriously, and then I think he realized this was going to go on forever. Yeah. And he was finally like, are you going to donate any money? And I was like, yeah. I was like, put me down for $30. And they wound up, they sent the envelope. I sent them back $30. Nice. I felt like that was worth the time for getting geeked and asking a cop a few questions.
Dude, that is not where I thought that story was going, but that's pleasant. So see, you helped out your fellow man. You got your questions answered. So
yes, a few of them.
Good.
Anyway, so
it's always good. All right. Well, I think we are about ready to wrap this up. So just before we go, if you guys want to get in touch with us or possibly be featured on a future episode, we have a hotline now. So you can give us a call at that. The number is 209. Wait, yeah, I've already got it wrong. 209-353-4257 or 209-35-DICKS. Dicks. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us once again. This is our longest episode so far, so that's going to be awesome.
I felt like I had to add that on to the end.
No, I appreciate it. I think they'll appreciate it.
We got heavy. So.
Yeah, it got heavy, so we had to lighten it up. So yeah, I think it was good serious chat there. So, but yeah, we want to know what you guys think. So hit us up. Yeah. Bye.
Peace.